Fallout 4 was the most anticipated game of 2015, and arguably the most anticipated of the latest console generation. 7 years had passed since the release of Fallout 3, 5 since New Vegas, and after the release of Elder Scrolls Skyrim, fans have been salivating for any news or update about the post-apocalyptic shooter series known for its comedy and characters. Even with a year filled with more open-world games than ever, with the likes of Mad Max, Assassin's Creed, The Witcher, or Just Cause, the collective anticipation of gamers everywhere couldn't be denied for the classic charm, sharp wit, and detailed world of Fallout. Unfortunately, Fallout 4 has lost a bit of its identity, in a sadly ironic way, by playing it safe with a story that can't live up to 3 or New Vegas, and a retread of the same mechanics we've been playing since 2008.
What's different about you?
With another Fallout brings another American locale with a hint of retro sci-fi influence and a heap of bittersweet desolation. Beginning in the outskirts of Boston, player creation starts by choosing a gender and facial features, while the two models battle over who gets to use the mirror. It's an effective way of juxtaposing the coming apocalypse, and no, I'm not talking about the nuclear devastation, I'm talking about the intimidating number of sliders and options for the model's cheekbones alone. With your perfect, safe, idyllic life established, the game drops a bomb on you and throws you underground, kills your spouse, kidnaps your son, and lets you loose in a world with aggressive cockroaches, landmine-laced stuffed animals, and thankfully, characters who are more than happy to help you on your quest of revenge. As always with Bethesda's open-world games, after the completion and escape of the tutorial, the desire and incentive to ignore the main quest and explore is in full force in Fallout 4. You can see cities on the horizon, looming skyscrapers and satellite towers, camping bandits and hungry giant enemy crabs waiting to be stumbled upon. Everything you do or kill generally gives you some kind of experience points, so when you're feeling unproductive, which will be rare, you can always track down a character who's going to point you in the right direction to finding your son. There's a good balance between pace and length to the story, even more so if you decide to flesh out the experience with side quests and grinding, as I was most of the time intrigued by what lay behind the next closed door, but could also put it aside for a while if I found an abandoned sewer system or abandoned camp filled with cronies the game unsuccessfully convinced me I was too weak to attack.
Nothing!
There are some interesting characters to be found in Boston this time around, but I don't think they have the appeal or longevity of others in the series. They offer the occasional chuckle, but most would rather you listen to their orders and go about your way. It doesn't even seem like it's their fault, the way the new dialogue system is designed, where player responses can be categorized into inquisitive, affirmative, indecisive, or aggressive. You can never be sure of what your character will say, and NPC dialogue will be forced to form a response that can align with all 4 options.
Now, I can't wait for the world to end.
Without a karma system in place as well, players are less heroes and villains, and more butt-kissers and assholes. It doesn't help that side quests in the game can't live up to others in the series to fully utilize the new dialogue system as well. I can't think of any from Fallout 4 that live up to the story of Tenpenny Tower and Megaton in Fallout 3.
We having fun yet?
Fuck you, Kellogg.
Even if the story can't compete with the originals, thankfully there's more than enough to do in Boston to distract yourself from completing it anyway. Fallout and the Elder Scrolls have always been known for the amount of content on one disc, but the world feels more detailed and lived in than ever before. Buildings hide clues as to the fate of its residents, the wasteland stretches on for miles with dangerous mutated foes, and littered raider encampments make the world really feel like it exists and plays without you. Most of the time though, I didn't really care about exploring these random buildings or sewers, the game's version of a dungeon, because it always plays the same, albeit filled with different enemy groups occasionally. But the world can be beautiful at times, truly giving off the feelings of loneliness, desperation, or helplessness. There are technical issues, obviously, which open-world Bethesda game doesn't, but the amount that they disrupt or ruin your experience has been completely blown out of proportion. It's going to be jarring, and slightly annoying, but most of the time it's not going to detract from your enjoyment, and can be quite comical if you keep an open mind. Otherwise, the mechanics of Fallout work better than ever. While Bethesda has taken steps to make it feel more like a first-person shooter, aiming is still difficult and imprecise enough to keep it in line with the RPG genre and prioritize effective use of your action points. One of the only new features of the game is the addition of armor and weapon crafting. In order to unlock different and higher tiered attachments, players must use experience gained to level up 7 key stats, which will then open up different perks to the player for more customization. It's great for the endgame, but initially, higher level perks take too long to unlock and don't affect your gameplay or differentiate your character enough should you choose to focus on a stealth, melee, or luck-based loadout. Item organization is hard to get a hold of as well. I like that they made the effort to relay management to your Pip-Boy, but it's clunky and slow switching between the tabs and sub-tabs of weapons, junk, maps, and radio stations. Also, one glaring oversight is that there's no sorting items by recently added, so if you found a new weapon or holotape you want to use, you'd better make sure you remember what it was called before you picked it up, or you'll be digging through your entire list for a long time. Another small grief was that a power attack with a melee weapon was relegated to the same button as throwing a grenade depending on what you have equipped. This led to at least one death, as I threw it a curveball instead of a killing blow, and made me limit myself from trying it just in case I had a proximity mine equipped accidentally. Another new feature inspired from the modding community of Fallout New Vegas is the ability to build settlements around different locations, managing food supplies and power resources among different camps. Initially excited by the idea, I attempted to build a generator using junk and scraps I found throughout the world, but with no tutorial in place to teach you these mechanics, I ended up running around with a cable wire in my hand for 20 minutes, trying to connect 2 generators together. This wouldn't be too big of an issue if it was designed for completionists, but certain missions in this story require you to use this feature, and it's extremely aggravating when you're forced to walk the plank and flail around for a bit before figuring it out.
But hey, I'm sorry if I've been rambling. I just get fired up sometimes.
The game eventually devolves into choosing between 2 different factions to control the wasteland, and while these are well-developed organizations with believable and realistic motives, forcing the character to pick a side leads to a rushed and unfulfilling ending, particularly because I got locked out of the faction I wanted and didn't entirely agree with actions I had to take to complete the story.
Oh, I'm ready. Question is, are you?
Fallout 4 is a great game, but nothing more than that. The new features are nice, but not entirely well implemented, so there's the constant nagging feeling that you've done this all before. While Fallout 3 gave us one of the very first RPG shooters with a colorful cast of settlements and characters, and New Vegas gave us a glitzy location with a memorable story, the newest iteration isn't going to spawn a new wave of memes,
Which reminds me, I've got another trouble spot for you to check out.
or lines we'll be quoting for years to come. It's a great game, but it is Fallout 3 with some basic refinements, less engrossing storytelling, and some graphical touch-ups to already chipping paint. A serviceable, but not spectacular sequel. But hey, Fallout's still Fallout.
Who'd expect wandering off with a stranger to turn out this well? They really don't make them like you anymore. You're a hell of a friend, you know that?
Just friends, huh?
But a friend for life. Or at least as long as you don't start annoying me.